Legendary. That's the word we use to describe humanity at its peak. When a person's strengths are fully realized and on display for all to see. Legendary is a word that sits at the cross-section between dedication and luck. Today I ask, how do we ever show this mastery if we never identify what it is that we should be mastering? Hey, what up YouTube? Kenny here, and today I want to talk about something that I wish I would have known like 10 years ago. And so I started to really define myself about 10 years ago, really figured out who I was, what I was strong at, and more importantly, the things that I was strong at that other people struggle at. And that's what I'm here to help you find out for yourself. And I hope this kind of mind map will serve you. So we're going to go into it. I'm going to give you the Kenny Triangle. But before we do that, I'm going to set you up with this video clip by Scott Galloway. He's talking about why you shouldn't follow your passion.
Follow your passion. What things that are passion, luxury, food, entertainment, sports, those are massively overinvested, and a very small fraction, less than 1% of the people who find those things, are passionate about those things, are able to make a living at them. And God bless them, and there's a lot of very well-publicized wins around people who followed their passion and became fabulously wealthy. But what's so unusual about this is what I find is the people who always are telling you to follow your passion are already rich. And they typically got rich following their passion of software as a service for healthcare scheduling. And it's like, oh, that was your passion? Let me tell you what their passion was. Anytime someone tells you to follow their passion, it means their passion was getting rich so they could buy a fat car and marry someone much better looking than them. That is their passion. What I would say is find something in your work that gives you joy and disproportionately allocate amount of time you can based on your credibility in the organization to that part of your job that just gives you joy.
All right, so now I give you the Kenny Triangle. So the Kenny Triangle, why the triangle? Well, it's my triangle, I made it, and essentially, I didn't want to overcomplicate this whole system, this whole thought experiment, right? This is not pulled from academia. I do realize there's like 8 emotional intelligences and a ton of other ways that we quantify things. These are not your intelligences. In fact, this is a way in which we're just going to work through how to find and explore your strengths. So here we go. So you're asking, Kenny, why triangle? Triangles are very strong. Trinities are very strong. Trinity here, strong, stabbed in the back. Trinity here, strong, God. Trinity here, strong, pretty much like a God. So the first thing is creative, speaks for itself, but this is not just music or art. This is obviously innovation as well. The other thing here is logical. This is your quant, this is your hard maths, and kind of just your critical thinking. And then over here is physical and kinesthetic. So know what you're thinking. You're like, hey, Kenny, there's a lot of jobs nowadays where you don't even have to be physical. I can work in the metaverse. I do get that, but until we're separated from these bodies that have blood and oxygen, there's still a physical or kinesthetic kind of component to it. What do I mean by that? Hey, you could be a coder and you could be really good at coding. Doesn't take a lot of physicality, but it takes a lot of skill in terms of how fast you type. There you go. 180 words per minute is a lot faster than 140, so that's definitely a pro skill that you have that's one-upping your peers. Other thing is, hey, endurance is a thing. It's definitely a thing. You can sit at your seat longer. You can be there for 12 hours as opposed to somebody that's there for only 8. That is also a skill. That's also a strength. So putting that in a bin, if you're very healthy and you can code really well, hey, you're going to be a super coder with a lot of muscles. All right, so let's go ahead and put some professions in here. As you can see here, if you're a doctor, let's start with doctor. Doctor, super easy. Where would this go on this kind of triangle? Well, it would probably go somewhere around here. But you got to remember, there's also doctors that just practice like internal medicine, but then there's surgeons and ER doctors. So like if you're a surgeon, you're going to need more physicality. You're going to have that fine motor skills to be able to cut and stuff, right? So like neurological surgeons are definitely far more removed from this. So the next one, obviously, let's do lawyers. Lawyers can be a bunch of things as well. You have your patent lawyers, you have your defense lawyers. So for what it's worth, there's definitely different types of law, patent law, corporate law, but lawyers tend to actually be very creative because they have to figure out these loopholes in which they want to present their case. I don't know anything about law. I've watched a couple seasons of Suits. Anything past season 5 is not good, just so you know. You can go ahead and stop right there. But yeah, that's where I'm at on lawyers. So the next one is soldiers. Obviously, you have your administrative soldiers and you have your combat soldiers. But more than that, you also have your like general purpose forces. So I would put something like them here somewhere like that. Really, you want to shoot, move, and communicate. I do understand that there's some morality nowadays. There's a lot of judgment, i.e. Abu Ghraib and all these other places where soldiers really do benefit from having some agency, right? That said, the difference between a general purpose soldier here and a special operations soldier, which I would put somewhere over here, is they tend to have to be a lot more creative in the way that they tackle problems. There's a lot more bottom up initiative. So always get to where you belong. If you know you're less like this and you're more like this, well, then you're going to excel over here in special operations. That said, I have a lot of friends and a lot of comrades, brothers in arms, that excelled over here. And that's not because they weren't better or anything like that. It's just that special operations tends to really exhibit bottom-up initiative and creativity. And if you don't have those levels of creativity, it's much better for you to stay over here and work your way up that ladder instead. All right, so let's break this down into a Venn diagram now. So Venn diagram, 3 different circles. The one thing I will say is if you are one of these folks that has a 95% distribution in one certain circle and you're like super quant and you know what that is, then you're done here. I don't even know why you're watching this video, because you know that that's your kind of extreme superpower and you're just going to crush it. Accelerate that and get out of here. For everybody else, for the rest of the normal people, you have 3 circles. Typically, there'll be some kind of balance here, but you want to outsize one. And unlike in life, you don't want balance here. You don't want that yin-yang energy. You want to be outsized in one. You want to have a high level of mastery in one specific bubble. So for me, you can see here, my big bubble is this. These other 2, not so much. But I'm going to tell you why you still should kind of work on the other ones and kind of how I thought about that and how it helped me a lot when I did work on the other ones. So I'm going to give you a story of how that worked for me. So after I got through my Army qualification course, one of the things that I quickly had to do is go to an advanced school that had to deal with kind of getting information and getting things from people that you couldn't ask them questions. For instance, there's this thing called the conversational sandwich. So there's the top of the sandwich, the opening where you meet people, the middle, the conversation itself, and then how you leave. The things that people remember the most always is meeting you and how they left. But the thing that they also remember is questions. So therefore, we weren't allowed to ask questions. And so because we weren't allowed to ask questions, it became pretty interesting, pretty hard. So this is one of those courses or schools that is an absolute waste of time for some folks because it's very obvious for them. But for me, it was an eye-opening experience. My point is that I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that people interacted and communicated like this. It was a big kind of weakness for me in terms of a blind spot. So you're asking, Kenny, how does this help me find my strength? Well, here's the thing. If you put yourself in other people's shoes and understand how they think, you'll start to quickly realize that you're strong at a lot of things that others are weak at, because you just saw it. You experienced it for yourself. You're literally putting yourself in other people's shoes. Let me explain. So for instance, if you have a coworker that you know he takes about 8 hours to do one specific thing, but for some reason you can do it in 1 hour and you're not even like really kind of appalled by it, you think it's normal and natural, start to audit that process, audit yourself. Think about how he's doing it different, why he's struggling, and why you're doing it so well. Here's the point to this. Because you're so efficient, you might constantly be getting those tasks, but put yourself in a position where that person might have to take that task, right? Put yourself in a position where you might have to take their task. And so generally take a look at how long things are taking. If you take the same amount of time as everybody else, then generally that's not an efficiency for you. It's not going to be a strength. But when you finish something very fast and everybody else is still working on it, you might want to think about ways that you can leverage that. So if you find yourself in a position to give somebody work that would take them a long time, give it to them. See if it would take them a long time. And if it took you an hour and you see them struggling, taking 8 hours, a lot of times you can use that to your advantage. You can use that to slow them down while you work on other things, but more so to really understand the nature of the thing you're working on. So if you're in a big bureaucracy, take that 1 hour of work on it, and then take the other 7 hours to work on things that improve yourself. Now, if you're in a small startup and you're a lean startup or you own the company, then damn, use what you got. Work really hard on that one thing, and you need to outsource everything else that you're weak at. All right, what I want to leave you with is this. There's things in life that you don't know about yourself, and you need to figure those things out. And those things are going to ultimately help you accelerate your growth, not just as a person, but spiritually, mentally, physically, conceptually. So bottom line is, once you take the time to identify what you're really strong at, then you'll be able to get in where you fit in. You're going to be in a place where people reward you for the thing that you do, and you know exactly what it is that you do very well. And once you get there, I think it's a far more productive place and space for you mentally and for the work environment in which you are in. My name is Kenny. Live for the journey. We'll see you soon. Take care.